Welcome to the Jerrell Riggins Show, the program that explores various subjects, business, technology, and current events. I am your host, Jerrell Riggins. Today's discussion will be talking about doing business with the federal government. Today we have in the studio with us Nadine Boone, Lead Business Opportunity Specialist for the Small Business Administration. Welcome to our show. Before we begin the interview, please share a little bit about your background with our listening audience.
Good afternoon, Mr. Riggins.
A pleasure. Thanks for being here.
You're welcome. I'm Nadine Boone, and I am the Lead Business Opportunity Specialist currently at the United States Small Business Administration, Massachusetts District Office. I lead the federal government contracting program, and I'm also the Lead Economic Development Specialist, which is for our community and outreach programs. I've been with SBA for 25 years and here in Massachusetts for going on 9 years.
All right. So let's get right into the conversation on small business and the Small Business Administration doing business with the federal government. Do you have any tips for others who want to start their own business, startups, people maybe been in it for 1 year or so?
So traditionally, when someone talked to me about doing business with the federal government, they're traditionally talking about contracting opportunities in doing business with the federal government. Startup is a whole different ball of wax, since doing business with the federal government via contracting is business development, and that assumes that a business is already in business and doing very well in business and looking for a second revenue stream. Now, starting a business, many of our entrepreneurs do not look to the Small Business Administration when they're looking to start a business. They will look in so many places, but I have a term that says all capital is not green. Therefore, I would love for our small businesses and entrepreneurs who are looking to start up to begin to think about, what are my taxpayer dollars paying for? So we are the United States Small Business Administrations. We have small businesses to start, to grow, to expand, to recover, and to export products.
Wow. So basically, you have a lot of different partners, such as SCORE and the MBDA, different opportunities where they can go for resources. Used to be PTAC, Apex, that small businesses could maybe get information, how to do market research and other types of things and learn. And also, I believe you have matchmaking and mentoring opportunities. Can you kind of share some of those things, what they would like to help with business plans, SWOT analysis?
So you were just now talking about the Small Business Administration's Resource Partner Network, which does include SCORE, which are volunteer mentors who are former business owners. And we also have our Women Business Centers. We have our Small Business Development Centers, which traditionally sit on college campuses here in Massachusetts. There is one at Salem State University, one at UMass Mount Ida in Newton, one in Worcester, Clark University, and I believe in Amherst, Massachusetts. That's kind of where we are headquartered at, UMass Amherst. So that's the SBDC. We mentioned the Women Business Center. We mentioned SCORE. Apex Accelerators, formerly known as PTAC, they are part of the SBDC network. And those Apex Accelerators are someone that I work closely with. Not that I don't work closely with all resource partners, but especially Apex Accelerators, because they are the federal government contracting specialists.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
And so in doing that, do they help with business plans and SWOT analysis for helping small businesses look at marketing their business and maybe getting matchmakers or mentors as well?
So where business plans are considered, One, on the SBA website, there is a template. However, I'm not going to ask anybody to take the solo journey of entrepreneurship. Those SCORE mentors are free.
Okay.
And there to help you to make sure you have all elements of the business plan. The small business development centers are also free or may have some classes with nominal charges, as well as the Women Business Center. And I left out our Veteran Business Outreach Centers also. We have something called VBOC for veterans as well. And so having someone to walk our entrepreneurs through their business plan to make sure that they understand it's a living document, that they can always revise it. They can make certain that they have all of the elements of the business plan, know what they are selling, who their customers are, who their competitors are, and how they're going to differentiate in the marketplace so that they can maintain their business model.
Oh, okay. Now, in doing business with the federal government, do they have to register like on SAM, get a unique identifier, entity number? What are some of those steps they would need to make sure they're into the pipeline and so they know, so the federal government know they're there?
So, Mr. Riggins, we are now talking about apples and oranges because we talked about starting a business and we're also talking about doing business with the federal government. So that's two totally separate thought processes there.
Yeah.
So in doing business with the federal government, which is government contracting, federal government contracting.
All right.
There is a registration process to let the government know that you want to do business with them. And that is where a SAM profile, SAM is System for Awards Management. After you register and let the government know that you want to do business with them, you have to know by the time you're ready to create a SAM profile, where do you fit in the ecosystem? Because in the federal government, there's the woman-owned small business, the economically disadvantaged woman-owned small business, the 8A business development program, the veteran-owned government contracting program, the service disabled veteran-owned government contracting program, as well as hub zones, historically underutilized business zone. So that's where I mean about fitting in the ecosystem. One individual can certainly fit in most of these categories or all of these categories. However, there are many individuals that only fit into one. And once you learn where you fit in the ecosystem, that is where you will look to be certified. Okay. Now, let us be exceptionally clear that registration and certification does not guarantee anybody anything. It guarantees you the ability to bid on an opportunity. It's like coming to a party and you show up and you don't get any food or a chair at that party. So letting the government know you want to work with them, finding out where you are in the ecosystem. You must also know who buys what you're selling. For federal government contracting, I recommend, and it is highly recommended, that the entrepreneur and the small business owner have prior experience that they will gather from the city that they may be living in. They have procurement systems as well as registering and certifying with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
Oh, okay. Now, in doing business with the federal government, you got to get into SAM, register, get your profile, but also you have to also give some NAICS codes, the North American Industrial Classification System. So you need to know a little bit about that, what your products and services are, so they can find you in your profile for the government contracting. Could you speak a little bit about that? Or anything additional that they need to know?
So on the SBA website under federal contracting, there is a link called basic requirements.
Okay.
So as you talked about NAICS codes, or NAICS codes as some people, North America Industrial Classification Codes, that's the industry that one works in. And those codes, that NAICS code is how I pronounce it, will define what it is for you to be small. It will define it by dollar thresholds for you to remain small when we look at 3 years and average them for your tax returns.
Okay.
Or if it's a manufacturing business, it would give the number of employees. So, when I think about construction, and there are some, like 34 million or 39 million for you to remain small. If you're making more than that over 3 years, then you are going to become a large business, not a small business, depending upon your industry. In manufacturing, it could go up to 1,500 employees. They do not give you dollar thresholds. They will give you employees, the number of employees for you to remain small. So one, you need to know where you are in the ecosystem. You need to know what your industry is, again, and who is buying what you are selling. And as we like to train when we are talking about opening doors to federal government contracting, if you have everything in place, all the registrations and certification, but if you do not have the capability, the capacity, or the capital, also known as money, to perform on that contract today, then you may be a candidate for, or most likely you are a candidate for, a mentor-protege agreement.
Okay.
That is where two small businesses come together and one can help the other. There should be some beneficial results. And whenever one is out networking in the community, very much like the Capital Matchmaker that we just had at Roxbury Community College, looking around that room and talking with people and trying to find someone who you might want to work with, that you want to have coffee and maybe a couple of meals with, to see if you have similar work ethics. Because with the Small Business Administration, we will vet the mentor and the protege. However, we will not find a match for anyone. We will not find your date, but we will perform the marriage.
Oh, excellent.
Okay.
Yeah. And when you talked about those various, the minority business enterprise, women business enterprise, VB, the veteran business enterprise, service disabled veterans, and there's in the hub zone as well, there's different criteria, eligibility that you need. For instance, if you want to be an MBE, you need to be 51%, I guess, of women owned, 51%. As far as a hub zone, 35% of your employees have to live within that area. So those are some very vital statistics and things that, as far as the eligibility criteria, that people would need to know when filling this information out.
So when we talk about doing business with the government, we go through each one of those programs now.
Okay.
DBE, MBE, VBE, they are traditionally at this point city and state certifications. I named HubZone, 8A Business Development, Woman-Owned Small Business, Economically Disadvantaged HubZone. So they are the federal government contracting.
Gotcha.
And I know people will come to me and say, I'm MBE, DBE, VBE, and I say, that's not me, because they are not federal certifications. But when we again talk about the veteran owned, the woman owned, the hub zone, the 8A business development, they are the federal certifications. And that is why we ask the entrepreneurs and small businesses, we call that business development. You're looking for a new revenue stream. You have a business that is really, really rocking, and you have the mindset and the ability to want to grow your business. And that's what this is all about, business development and growing your business and working towards becoming a large business. And for any of the small business owners who are getting access to capital, who's being approved for those loans, or who are getting contracts, that is a part of the economic development ecosystem. So that then lends itself to job creation.
Oh, great. Now, in also doing business with the federal government, don't you need a capability statement, kind of show what your skills are, along with your NAICS codes and whatever. Could you speak a little bit to that?
By all means, thank you so much for bringing up the capability statements, because so many of our entrepreneurs and our small business owners will talk about their certifications. Certifications are important. It's, again, an invitation to bid on a subset of contracts. But preferably, the entrepreneur and or the small business owner is going to talk about what they're capable of doing. They're going to talk about their capabilities, and they're going to put together a document that contains no more than 2 pages that will include some contact points. I have seen capability statements that look really, really good with no contact points on them, but you're going to put those NAICS codes up there and your logo and things of that nature, and talk about what it is you can do. You're going to get out there and talk with who is buying what you're selling to find out what their problems are and how you can help them to solve those problems. In the SAM registration, the new SAM now has 7 other applications in there. There is RFIs, requests for information.
Okay.
There's RFQs, requests for quotes, once someone know what their industry is and their NAICS codes. There's also something called sources sought. That is the government seeking sources. The government is traditionally looking for small business under some of those certifications. Again, those certifications are woman-owned, economically disadvantaged woman-owned, Hub Zone, 8A business development, veteran-owned, or service-disabled veteran-owned at the federal level. And so the federal government, whatever agency that may be, procuring agency, are seeking sources of small businesses to see if 2 or more will respond to RFIs, RFQs, or sources sought before a large business is able to have this contract.
Oh, okay. What have you seen in being at the lead a business opportunity specialist? What have you been hearing from small businesses as far as their challenges in doing business with the federal government or finding those mentor protege opportunities or joint ventures to do business with the federal government?
So I did a presentation with the Department of Navy up in Rhode Island in January of this year. And the Mentor Protege program with the Small Business Administration was started in 2016. And I think we have about 2,600 mentor protege teaming arrangements that have been approved. All of those are taking place in Washington, D.C. Thank God that the dinosaur has met the 21st century and everything is uploaded online in these platforms, electronic platforms. Those electronic platforms sometimes have some problems, and our small business owners and entrepreneurs have short patience. I just want to say that government contracting is a process. You cannot just wake up tomorrow morning or this morning and say, oh, I'm going to do business with the federal government. I'm going to fill out my SAM profile. I know that I'm a hub zone and I'm going to apply. Again, you got to find out who's buying what you are selling. Not every business is designed for federal government contracting, although the government buys everything from the microphone like we are using, the headsets that we are wearing, paper clips, cars, jets, bombs, and the government purchases everything, right down to the pens that I work with, the staples that I use, the scissors that I use, and the desk and computers. So government buys everything, yet not every business is designed to do business with the United States federal government. So one must find their niche. In talking about capabilities, one must find their niche and continue to persevere and go through the fire until they have some successes and not to give up. You know, we think about little babies who start on their back, and I use these examples and metaphors all the time, that you're going to have to go through the labor pains before you hold the precious little bundle. And so, yeah.
Okay. Now, in dealing, because you have different partners and then doing business with the federal government, there's the general GSA have schedules, and how do they can break in and finding these contracting officers, regardless if it's a GSA or what different agencies. What's the best way to kind of do that market research?
So GSA, General Services Administration, is a different agency. And in talking about GSA, the SAM, System for Awards Management, is a GSA platform.
Okay.
And then there is the Dynamic Small Business Search, which is a supplemental page to SAM. That's an SBA platform.
Okay.
And then those NAICS codes, those industrial classification codes, are devised and developed by census. So we want to talk about open government. Again, taxpayer dollars at work. However, now we are really talking about having some experience when we are talking about the GSA Federal Supply Schedule. If you want to be on Schedule 1, you're going to have to apply for that. And everything that I have talked about thus far is free. SAM, just doing business with the government, and all of those certifications, capital FREE, free. The GSA Federal Supply Schedule, General Services Administration, Federal Supply Schedule, there's going to be a fee. I do not know what those fees are. There's also a requirement that you have a certain amount of business every year on that Federal Supply Schedule. And so you just heard me talk about that. This is a process, that it's not an overnight event. It's not like going to Macy's and Lord and Taylor's have closed now, or some retail store where they say, you know, would you like to open an account? And 15 minutes you are buying and walking out the store with the bag in your hand. It's not like that at all. These programs, these registration certifications, they have to be vetted. There is a ton of information that is going to be requested that will be cleared in looking through, you know, the registrations with the city or the state, or if you are the woman, if you are for profit. Nonprofits are not in my wheelhouse.
Okay.
For access to capital or contracting. You must be for profit. You must be 51% owner and doing business here and a United States citizen. And so for all of those, you mentioned Hub Zone. And yes, the principal office needs to be in the hub zone. Hub zones are not in straight lines, you know, because the house across the street over there is a hub zone don't mean this building that we're sitting in is a hub zone. So those tracks that's designated, once again, and those tracks were just redrawn. Those lines were redrawn just in July 1st was when the new hub zones were created, and it would be 5 years from now when some other hub zones will be created. But 35% of the employees will need to live in the hub zone. There is a hub zone map on the SBA website to find out if that business is in a hub zone. Every one of those 35% of employees, that hub zone map will need to be used to ensure that those employees live in a hub zone. So that means that if Roxbury, you have a business down in Roxbury, and you have employees up in Lawrence or somewhere that you know, so they have to have an address that's in a hub zone, not the hub zone.
Okay.
And so that's important to know as well. And principal office, that's very, very important with the Hub Zone program, that the principal office is where the greatest number of employees report to. It may be different from the headquarters of the business. So there, it comes with language skills as well.
Oh, okay. All right. That's good to know. Yeah, because people would, I mean, that would be very helpful to go onto this website and put in your zip code or whatever, so your address, to know if you are in a hub zone area, so you know what to do.
That's how it starts, by looking at the hub zone map. And please let us remind each and everyone that will hear me speak. Internet is open 24 hours a day. And so internet is never closed down, that you can't do this research that you need to do.
Yeah. That's good.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, could you also share, I know there's some resources, financial resources available for people doing business, microloans and I guess it's a type J or something loan.
7J.
7J.
Well,
7J.
now 7J is not a loan. 7J is contracting training.
Training. Okay.
For those certified, for those who are certified as 8A, that's 7J. Those who are certified as 8A business development, economically disadvantaged woman-owned, or Hub Zone certified.
Okay.
Or if that small business can prove that they are in a low income area, then they would qualify also. Again, you're going to look at the Hub Zone map or there will be criteria to prove that. So we have 8A, that's contracted. We have 7J, that is contracted. We have 7A, that is access to capital.
Okay. All right. A lot of acronyms and
We
A's.
do. We do. We certainly do. And this is a part of the Small Business Act. These are sections in the Small Business Act. And so that's why we have these numbers and these alphabets. The Small Business Administration have 2 access to capital programs. That is 7A and the 504. And nobody can walk into a bank. One, the Small Business Administration is a federal agency. We work with banks who have signed a 750 agreement to say, yes, we want to do business with entrepreneurs. And so our small businesses and entrepreneurs will need to go to a bank. One of the first questions I ask, you're in business. Who are you doing business banking with? Mm-hmm. And so they would need to go to the bank. Well, when they walk into the bank, if they have all of the credit, collateral, and character and everything that the bank requires, then that would not be a candidate for the 7A guarantee, the guarantee that the bank would provide. It is the banker that makes the decision that the proposal and that business plan that the small business owner is bringing into them, when they look at it, they will make a decision about the risk calculations. And that's where the bank will apply for the enhancement of an SBA guarantee. We will guarantee to the bank to help them to be able to say yes. The small business owner is 100% responsible for that loan, even with the SBA guarantee. Yet the small business owner can't just walk in the bank today and say, I want an SBA loan. The bank has to vet them first to make sure that they could not get credit elsewhere before attaching the SBA guarantee enhancement to that loan.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, there are microlenders. You know, microlenders don't go any higher than $50,000. Microlenders are for those who are starting out, for the unbanked and the underbanked.
Okay.
And there are individuals who have been able to get, the average microloan is about $13,000. And so there are individuals who are able to get microloans early on in their startup stages and later on as their business develop and grow, because the Small Business Administration does not loan more than $5 million. And so we will never guarantee 100% of any loans, but there are those that go from a $13,000 or $50,000 loan with a microlender to being able to acquire a business or get capital or assets or whatever the case may be, up to $4.5 million, going through the stages of their business growth.
Oh, okay. Wow. Now, as you said, the website, internet is open 24 hours. So most of this information that we're sharing with us today, we just go to www.sba.gov to get most of this information from the Small Business Administration website, or how do we get that?
You can get all of that information from www.sba.gov. However, we want you to go to sba.gov/Massachusetts, because then it becomes your SBA, because we as federal employees, we work for all of the taxpayers, and there are 68 SBA offices across the country. You only have 50 states, and there are 58 SBA offices, which means that some states, some of our largest states, have 3 to 4 offices. Even here in small Massachusetts, there's a Springfield branch office out west here, and that's not one of our district offices, but going to sba.gov/Massachusetts. So when the small business owner go to sba.gov, they are able to put their zip code in to take a look at the resource partners, to get SCORE counselors and SBDCs and Women Business Center and Veteran Business Centers that are working specifically under the guidance of Massachusetts laws and regulations.
Okay.
Okay?
Great. Mm-hmm. Given the large number of employees not returning to the corporate world, did this ignite an increase, did you see, in small businesses within the SBA as far as the last 3 years given the pandemic?
Certainly we did. There were many small businesses that shut down, but there were also many small businesses that opened up. There were people that saw where there was a need in their communities were not being met, that they were able to fill that gap. And so there is data that shows how many closed down and how many business started. There were lots of woman-owned small businesses that were started. You know, women will figure out, it takes a village. Women will figure out how to make that village collaborate and be cohesive and to succeed at what they are trying to do. So, yes, there were lots of businesses that started, a few of them that closed, and it kind of one washed the other one out in looking at what was started and what ended.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, you had mentioned a lot of women-owned businesses. I know March is Women's Month.
Women History Month.
Women History Month. And do you all plan anything with SBA for during that month? Or maybe we get you back and talk a little bit more about the SBA and some of maybe the women-owned businesses that have been successful doing business with the federal government.
We can certainly do that. We recognize most of the months and whatever is going on, Black History Month, Women History Month, Native American History Month, Hispanic American History Month, Asian American History, Heritage. Many of these say Heritage Months. And so we certainly plan something. I was online this afternoon have spoken to 2 banks today to say, this is March. This week, March will begin, and I have not planned a Women History Month yet. What do you have on your calendar that we can be a part of, trying to back into it that way? Yeah. However, in the last 2 years, I have had, for Women History Month, a woman-owned small business, federal government contracting webinar. I've had the people from Washington, D.C., who are those that actually certify. And let us be clear, nothing is certified here in our office. No loans are approved in our office. We get people that come in and they expect me to sit them down and take an application. That is not what my office do. I have information. I do not have checks to write or contracts to give. And so I do just provide information to our small businesses who are coming into the office. So we will be planning Women History Month event with our resource partners, preferably also with our program office there in Washington, D.C. And when I'm talking resource partners, I'm talking about the Women Business Centers as well as some of our banking partners. And community organizations as well.
Wow. Mm-hmm. As we're going to wrap up this podcast, any final thoughts you would like to share on before we end our podcast today?
I think my final thought is entrepreneurship is not a solo journey. There are all of these free resources which the Small Business Administration provides to our entrepreneurs to help them to succeed. Not only are there the mentors and the counselors there to help, these mentors and counselors have a lot of training traditionally virtually. Still, there's a lot of virtual events, so one does not even need to move from their own home or computer or telephone. Sometimes, I'm taking a call on a telephone in my office, or if I'm sitting in traffic and I know that I have a meeting, I would jump on my phone in Teams or Zoom or whatever the case may be. And so I just want to say entrepreneurship is not a solo journey. And I want our small business owners to know that their taxpayer dollars are at work for them and to utilize them and just start to thinking that all capital is not green.
Okay. Well, I want to say thank you, Nadine Boone, the lead business opportunity specialist from the Small Business Administration, for being our guest today and offering some essential information on the Small Business Administration and how to do business with the federal government. And as we end this podcast, I want to leave this with this quote. Small business people are people with goals and values that can't be calculated on a profit and loss statement. Linda McMahon, she's the former administrator of the United States Small Business Administration. Until next time, remember, kindness is free. Sprinkle it everywhere you go. Thank you for joining us. Stay tuned for our next podcast. Be well and take care of yourself. I am your host, Jerrell Riggins.